Hello and welcome to the 2018 Actual Tech Media Cloud Solutions Megacast event. On today's event, we're excited to be joined by VMware, Blue Medora, Unitrends, ArcServe, and Nutanix. We've got a really great event lined up today, our first event of 2018, first event of the new year, and tons of exciting solutions to talk about today, all about cloud computing. So my name is David Davis. I'll be the moderator for today's event, and I'm really excited about this event. As you can tell, I'm passionate about cloud computing and what it can offer enterprises and even SMBs, companies of all sizes out there. And that's one of the many reasons that we at Actual Tech Media created this event series to help educate the world of IT professionals about really innovative solutions in technology that can help you to be more efficient, to do more, to be more scalable, to be more agile, to potentially even save money, and do it quickly, learn about all these solutions all in one fast-paced event. So thanks so much for joining us. I know everyone out there has a very busy schedule, so thanks for taking time out of your busy day to learn more about cloud solutions. So before we jump right into it, we've got a few things that I want to talk about, a little bit of housekeeping. First off, when it comes to prizes, we've got a lot of really awesome prizes lined up for today. You may have heard about those. We've got 5 Surface laptops and 5 Amazon $500 gift cards. I'll be covering those prizes and the requirements to be eligible for the drawings to win those more in the next couple of slides. Now, before we kick it off, you should know that we've got 5 of the hottest companies in the cloud space today. Each one will talk for roughly 20 minutes. This is not a competition between the presenters. There's no winner selected here today. We want this to be a very educational event, and we want it to remain very positive. So I'll be asking you a number of questions as members of our audience. We want to learn more about you and how we can help you. And then we encourage you to ask questions. Ask questions of our expert presenters that we have today. You can do that through the Q&A box that's there on your console. We'll have a live Q&A session with each of the presenters. And then after that, the presenters will be sticking around to answer your questions electronically. So feel free to ask as many questions as you want. No question is a dumb question. We want to help you learn more about cloud computing and how it can help you in your data center. Now, about your console there's a few features I'd like to point out. You can drag or maximize the presentation window to make it larger, just like Windows in an operating system. So I recommend that you do that right now when it comes to the slides window. Go ahead and just click the maximize button on that to take over your browser so you can see when these presenters do like live demos or if they show architectural diagrams, whatever it might be. Just keep in mind that the questions box is available down at the bottom of your browser window there, the Q&A box. The schedule is on the left, and then we also have resources from our presenters today. You can also tweet about the event live from your console right there. If you click on the Twitter icon, the first time you do that, it will prompt you for a Twitter authorization, and that's kept just between you and Twitter. And then after that point, any tweets that you do using that Twitter icon in your console will automatically append today's hashtag, which is Cloud Megacast, and I'll mention that again here in just a couple of slides. All right, I mentioned the resource handouts that are in your console. Each of those has been hand-selected by our presenters to help you learn more about their particular presentation or their particular cloud solution. They're all easy PDFs to download. Just click on those and download those. And then one more thing, you can also email the webcast to your friends or colleagues using that email icon, which looks like a paper airplane, at the bottom of your console. Now, if at any point during the presentation you have trouble with the presentation screen there, simply press refresh on your browser, and 9 times out of 10 that will resolve any of those types of problems. I should point out that this is a live event, so things can and do go wrong. So be patient with us if they do. Hopefully nothing happens today. And like I said, pressing refresh on your browser in most cases simply resolves those types of problems. All right, so with that, let's kick it off and let's talk about some of the prizes. You all may have heard that we have 5 $500 Amazon gift cards to give away today. We also have 5 Surface Pro laptops to give away as well. These are Microsoft, I shouldn't say Surface Pro laptops. They are Microsoft Surface laptops. So want to make that clarification. I know Microsoft has a number of Surface devices. These are Surface laptops. So roughly $10,000 in total Megacast prizes, lots of things to be awarded today, and we'll be giving out these prizes in between each of the different presentations. You must be live on the event to be eligible for the drawings. Winners have the option to make donations to a selected charity. If you'd like to do that, I have a list of charities here in just a minute that we support. We love to give away prize values to charity. It makes everyone feel great. So if you'd like to do that, just let us know when you win your prize. And the grand prize winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media. That's an IRS requirement. We will reach out to you via email to deliver your prizes. And more information on the exact legal details are available on our website, actualtechmedia.com. You can scroll to the bottom and find out more about the prize terms and conditions. So here are the selected charities. We love to support all different charities: the Hunger Project, Reading is Fundamental, International Rescue, PetSmart, Cancer Research Institute. So like I said, love to give money away to charity. And then social media. So the event hashtag on Twitter is primarily where we do the social media. The hashtag there is Cloud Megacast. I'll be monitoring that hashtag throughout the event, talking about the event as well. If you have questions, if you want to share some of those tweets or respond, feel free to do so there. Today's event is presented by Actual Tech Media. You can follow us on Twitter, and you can follow me as well, where I am David M. Davis over on Twitter as well. I tweet a lot about enterprise technology. You can also learn more about Actual Tech Media through our YouTube channel. Over on YouTube, we post all of our roadcast interviews and many of our events over on YouTube, so check us out there. You can subscribe there. You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, and you can subscribe to our Facebook page as well. So check us out. Lots of social opportunities to learn more about enterprise technology. All right, so before we introduce our first presenter on the event today, I want to give you kind of my stage setting speech here on the state of the cloud and tell you kind of my take as a former IT professional, former IT manager. I worked at a data center for many years, implemented virtualization, storage technologies. It was a little bit before the cloud it really became popular, but all the concepts, still apply. And traditional legacy infrastructure, I know, firsthand, can be inefficient, can be complex, it can be costly, and it is costly. And more increasingly, it seems like traditional legacy infrastructure designs and systems just aren't meeting the needs of today's modern businesses. Today's modern businesses have to be agile. They have to be efficient. They have to, you're really expected to do more with less, as the saying goes. So cloud computing comes along, and it provides many of the things that the business needs, the efficiency that the business needs, the agility for not just the business, but for the IT organization. We in IT, we need to be kind of the technology superheroes and be able to provide the technology that the business needs exactly when they need it. It shouldn't be a 30 to 60-day wait, to order a server or provision new storage and network infrastructure and test applications and so on and so forth. If a company needs a new application, they should be able to get it, within the same day or whatever their needs might be, very quickly, very efficiently. And that's kind of what the cloud provides for us. And not just for applications, but it also provides, infinite scalability for compute, for storage, for data protection. And those are many of the things that we'll be talking about today on the Megacast. The cloud also provides, pay-as-you-go or utility-based pricing, allowing you to move from the CapEx model to the OpEx model. I know that would be appealing for many IT professionals. I remember going into the CFO's office with a $100,000 proposal asking for money, and the CFO saying, "Why do we need this? We don't need to spend $100,000. We just need this application or this new, data or storage solution." And so CFOs, financial people love this new OpEx model, the pay-as-you-go pricing. And ultimately, cloud helps IT organizations to focus more on the business and the applications. And that's really what we need to be doing as IT professionals. Now, on the flip side of that, there's also a lot of confusion around the cloud. There's multiple forms of cloud. I put the cloud in double quotes there because when we talk about cloud, it's very ambiguous as to what exactly we're referring to. I mean, there's private cloud, there's public cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, enterprise cloud. And then when you talk about public cloud specifically, there's SaaS, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, disaster recovery as a service, backup as a service, everything as a service. And we'll talk about a lot of those today, but we have to be very specific when we talk about cloud and about how it can help us. There's also great differences between the multitude of cloud offerings. There's incompatibilities between on-premises and cloud images. You can't just move a VM up there or move a physical server up there very quickly. And there's differences in management models between on and off premises. And it's many cases it's difficult to integrate these differences and manage two separate infrastructures, which most companies, if they're going to move to the cloud, they're going to start by dipping their toes in with the low-hanging fruit, if you will, with something small, perhaps test and dev, which is where many of us started with virtualization, or perhaps disaster recovery or backup or something like that. So in this event, I'm really excited because we have a lot of experts on the event today. I know many of the presenters here personally, and I know I've seen their presentations, and we have a lot of great things to talk about when it comes to cloud solutions. So you all bring the challenges, and we'll bring the solutions on today's event from Blue Medora, VMware, Unitrends, ArcServe, and Nutanix. Now, before we jump into it, I've got a few quick poll questions to warm us up for the event here, and I'll share the results of each one of these poll questions with you. And so the first one is, how many people work in your company? I'll give you a few minutes to answer that question. Just select it right there in the slide area, and I'll share the results with you. And we can see how many folks are on the event today, or not how many folks, but what the size of the companies who are represented on today's Cloud Solutions Megacast. All right, so let me share the results of that poll with you. And it looks like 23% on the event today have 10,000 plus employees at their company, so good representation of large companies. And then 12% have 2,500 to 5,000, 19% have 100 to 500, and then we even have small companies, 0 to 25 represented, which are 6.9% of the audience. So great breakdown. Thank you, everyone, for answering that question. And then here's another question, and this one you might need to scroll down a little bit in your browser right there. You can answer this question, and that is, what is your industry vertical? And I'm always excited to see the wide distribution of companies represented and verticals represented on our Megacast series. So I'll give you just another minute to answer that. All right, let me share the results of that with you. And let's see. 21% are in technology, probably not a big surprise. 9% are in banking and finance, 8% manufacturing, 7% telecom, 12% healthcare. That's excellent. Let's see, 3% local government, state, federal, all sorts of companies represented, 4% energy. So thank you for answering that question. And then let's see, one more question before we jump into it. And that is, how large is your IT staff? How many people work in your IT group? And that encompasses the entire IT department, whether it's storage, servers, networking, support, even development. It all fits in the IT staff. All right, that's an easy one. Let me share the results of that with you. And 41% have more than 100 people. I guess I'm going to have to increase the scale on this. But 11% have 11 to 25. And then smaller companies, 18% have 2 to 5. So good representation again. All right, and with that, I'm excited to introduce our first presenter on today's Cloud Solutions Megacast. That is Mr. Sunny Dua. He's a product line manager in the Cloud Management Business Unit at VMware. Sunny, are you there?
Thank you. How are you, David?
I'm great. Thanks for being on. Tell us about VMware and your cloud solutions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining in the Cloud Megacast. And my name is Sunny, and I work as a product line manager for VMware. We were just about to have the first disaster of the day while I got dropped off right before this slide. So thankfully, the technology worked, and I got reconnected. But today, as David mentioned, there is a lot of cloud around the cloud. So we would want to demystify some of that and pretty much talk about what is the overall cloud strategy at VMware and how we see the cloud space transforming over a period of time, and how VMware has been evolving its strategy to ensure that we are able to meet the business requirements of the customers, at the same time reduce the complexity of the cloud as we move into various different form factors of cloud. So my role at VMware is of a product line manager, where I work within the Cloud Management Business Unit, and pretty much the solutions we come out with is to help manage or do cloud operations. However, if you look at today's presentation, it's not only around talking about how to operate cloud, but it's also around what is the right strategy which you can choose when you move towards cloud. So I do want to talk about a little bit in terms of what we are seeing in our customer space. We have more than 300,000 customers today, and we've been lucky enough to learn from customers as they move into virtualization, and now they're moving into a software-defined data center, and slowly and gradually moving into public clouds. And this experience of our customers, along with us, has helped us understand that customers will not stick to one cloud. They will never be going to a single vendor and building up their cloud. They'll be always moving across and looking for opportunities where they can serve their applications the best. So if you look at the focal point of cloud or any organization, unfortunately, it's not the IT. I mean, I belong to IT, and I would love to be the central point of the organization. But to be honest, the central point of the organization is business, where the revenue comes from. IT is an expenditure for an organization. Now, if you look at the revenue-generating applications, they are completely changing if you compare them to the past. And for each customer of ours, they are looking at various different capabilities within their cloud and data center environments to serve those applications. Some customers are looking at modernizing their existing data centers or private clouds, while there are other customers who are looking at building cloud-native applications. Now, there are certain customers who are in between as well, who are basically trying to extend to cloud and move their existing applications to cloud. In net, you would see that the transformation is the application transformation, which is slowly making the moves into the world of cloud as well. Those moves are based on what you want to do with your applications. When we go to our customers and talk about what they're trying to do with their applications, we've got different answers from different customers, different teams, or different line of businesses. However, the funny part has been that if we take all those answers from, let's say, a single organization from different line of businesses, we've come up with at least 5 to 6 common things which are happening in every organization as they're moving towards the cloud. And what they're doing with their applications is varied across different form factors of their businesses. For any legacy business which they have as an organization, for example, if you talk about a banking firm, the bank branches or the core banking is a legacy business. And if you look at that business, it's running on traditional applications on monolithic platforms. And a lot of customers, while they're moving applications to modern platforms or cloud, they're not actually touching their revenue-generating applications much because they want to keep them, maintain them, and run them because that is giving them revenue. Hence, there is no need to go ahead and rip and replace those applications. So they want to make sure that they can just modernize the underlying platform, build private clouds based on software-defined data centers to reduce complexity and operational overheads. and run those existing applications. So that's one part of, or one side of customers. Within the same organization, you will see applications which are actually becoming bottleneck for the business, and hence customers are looking at replatforming those applications. Because of the fact that the older architectures are no longer good enough to support those applications. And then there is a whole set of customers who are looking to develop modern applications which can run into hybrid clouds or even cloud native based on containers. Now, this is where I see a huge change in the application platform, which is slowly pushing the IT to move towards cloud as well. One good example is SaaS applications. Now, if you look at SaaS applications, it has actually taken away Exchange from an organization completely, as an example, right? People want to go to Office 365 and start using their apps immediately rather than going ahead and building the application or maintaining it. And that's not only happening in email, it's happening in HR systems, it's happening in payroll systems, etc. So you'll see a major transformation there as well. Now, as I said earlier, the funny part is that most of the customers are not doing one or two of these things. But if you look within your organizations itself, you will see some part of the organization doing each of these things in the organization. Now, if you kind of summarize this, what they're trying to do is they're trying to develop applications, whether it's the monolithic applications or modern applications. They want to make sure that they can deploy it anywhere, whether it's their private data centers or it's AWS or Azure. And they also want to make sure that all these applications can be delivered to any device, especially if you look at the watch. It sounds crazy, right? I mean, looking at your Apple Watch and accessing your applications is somehow not unheard of probably 5 years back. But essentially, if you look at it, it's happening right now. People are delivering applications for a watch. And all these organizations want to make sure that they're able to deploy, develop, and deliver applications. And while they're doing that, they do have a choice of choosing the platform or the cloud which they want to deliver these applications on. The funny part is that none of the clouds available today, or a single cloud available today, can serve all this. You cannot have a private cloud which can do everything what you want. You cannot have a public cloud which can give you everything what you want. So there's always a trade-off. Now, when VMware looked at this scenario, we figured out that customers are actually looking at three major things because of which they're making these moves. The first is they want to go ahead and accelerate the time to market. So competition, business, they want to make sure that their application is out first, they have the most number of downloads, and so on and so forth. They want to make sure that they mitigate the risk by not doing a vendor lock-in with a single vendor, whether it's VMware or Microsoft or AWS. And hence they want to spread their risk, and they want to go to multiple clouds. And the last but not the least is the scale problem, which we have not only seen in the private cloud, but we've sometimes seen that in hosted clouds as well. And they want to make sure that they can scale in or scale out as and when they want, at the same time not pay for that extra scale if they're not using that scale. So these are the requirements pretty much of IT today to serve those business needs or the application needs. But the beauty of these requirements is this actually gives us business because it comes with a bunch of complexities. While you're doing all these things, you will have complexity coming in, and you want to make sure that you can manage it. And some of these complexities primarily are security, right? Security is number one in when you think about cloud. Cost is there. Of course, customers understand now that private cloud is still cheaper. Public cloud is not cheap if you look at a 6-month or a yearly bill and not monthly. And they quickly realize that if they really want to run in the public cloud and get the benefits of security or agility or mobility and scalability of a public cloud, they need to optimize the costs. If they don't optimize the costs, they would be forced by the CFO to come back from a public cloud to a private cloud. And believe me, I've seen that happening. Now, this basically brings a bigger challenge that they have to manage multiple clouds. Now, VMware Cloud Strategy has been primarily looking at this particular problem. If we look at our customers and we talk to our customers, many of them are healthcare providers or in the government. And when we talk to them and we talk about public cloud, we ask them, what are your requirements? Why and which public cloud do you want to choose? And we can help you choose that. What we get as a strategic answer from the customer is, while we love the public cloud and we love your private cloud as well, the hard part is that how do we convince our security team? How do we make sure that whatever we have built as operations over a period of time with SOPs and procedures and processes do not break when we move to the cloud? How do we make sure that all these scripts which we have written, all the automation which we have done over a period of time, and all the knowledge which we have built pertaining to our applications stays and is not destroyed? And at the same time, security and governance, which is, again, it's a unsaid. We know that if there's no security or no governance which is available in public cloud, nobody would go ahead and adopt public clouds. Now, that has been a challenge for public clouds for a period of time. And hence, VMware also understands that it's not just the customers who are struggling, it's also the other side of things, which is public clouds which are struggling to meet all these requirements. And hence, it's important that when we talk about the VMware strategy, we incorporate these challenges from both the ends and kind of merge them together to make sure that we can deliver the cloud which we want. And hence, if you look at the VMware cloud strategy, we want to make sure that you can run, manage, connect, secure any app on any cloud and on any device. So that's something which we have been focused on. And there are two key pillars of that strategy. The first pillar is giving a consistent infrastructure to our customers. Now, I'll talk more about it as I move forward, but please remember, it's not only the infrastructure for developing or deploying VMs, but also containers. So whether you're deploying traditional applications or modern applications, you have a choice here to have consistent infrastructure which can be used across different clouds. And then the second and a topic which is close to my heart, and David knows about, is operations. So when you want to do operations, it's the most difficult thing. You can buy the best tool in the market, but if you do not have the right procedures, processes, people, and you don't transform them as you change your business strategies or IT strategies, it will be difficult for them to keep up. And hence, consistent operations across public clouds and private clouds is something which we are striving for. Now, let's just jump into the consistent infrastructure piece. I think we all know that hypervisor started from VMware, and then we delivered the private cloud where we were able to help you to go ahead and virtualize compute, storage, and network, and build the concept of software-defined data center. That is something which is time-proven, and it's already being deployed in multiple places as we speak today. Now, that was one part of the consistent infrastructure. We actually blueprinted that particular part and created something called VMware Validated Design along with VMware Cloud Foundation. So essentially, if you look at the entire architecture, it's no longer a design and deploy which you need to do, but it's actually rack and stack. You just buy the stuff, rack and stack it, power it on, and you have the entire design of software-defined data center implemented. We made sure that we are able to deliver that consistency in the infrastructure across to the various different customers. Now, when we did that, we immediately got partners who were excited about virtualization, who were already our partners with virtualization, who wanted to deploy the same architecture in their environments and deliver those services as hosted platforms to our customers. And believe me or not, there are 4,000 plus global partners who are running the VMware software-defined data center stack in their infrastructure and just delivering VMs as a service. And while they started with virtual machines as a service, I'm extremely happy to announce that they've been able to not only do VMs, but build multiple offerings on top of it, such as disaster recovery as a service, backup as a service, or maybe certain capabilities around NFV or telco, which helps customers to go ahead and get that extra service from the hosted platform rather than building that within the home. All this was good for our customers, but there were customers who also want to go to public clouds like Amazon, and that's where we actually went ahead and extended this architecture, this consistent architecture or infrastructure, to Amazon Web Services. It basically means that you're running a whole VMware stack inside the Amazon data center, and you're paying Amazon as pay-as-you-go model or a lockdown model of 1 year or 3 years, depending upon what you want to choose. But essentially, what you have now got is you've got transformed by the same architecture which you had, and you just moved it over from your private data center into a public cloud and changed the model to pay-as-you-go. Now, if you remember one of the points that David said, that why it is so attractive for CFOs to choose cloud is the money. And they don't really know what architecture you're running. They don't really care about what hardware vendor you've chosen. They care about what is the best price per dollar they can get, or best value per dollar they can get. And essentially, for them, if you tell them that you don't have to pay a lot of professional services or application services, but you can move your applications from private cloud to a public cloud like Amazon, do a pay-as-you-go model, who would not choose it? And we are seeing a tremendous response from the customers on that. So we move from making sure that the consistent infrastructure is available across clouds, in this case, not only in the VMware private cloud, but the partners as well as the Amazon Web Services. Now that was about consistent infrastructure. I want to touch upon consistent operations as well. Now this is proven value which we have given to our customers through our intelligent management platform, which is the vRealize suite of products, right from vRealize Operations Manager to Log Insight, and now to business management as well, which basically not only allows you to make sure that your software-defined data center is healthy, but it's performant, and at the same time, you're getting the best efficient use of your capacity. So these three things help you make that consistent operation. Now, if you just think about it, and if you extend this particular concept to Amazon Web Services, the good news is that you can use the same tools to extend that capability which you have in your private cloud into a public cloud as well. Now, that gives you consistent operations with your existing tools which you have. But what we've also learned is that customers might not just go to Amazon and BMC and Amazon. They might go to Azure, they might go to EC2 instances, they might go to a Google Cloud platform or some other cloud vendor which will come in the future, and there will be many. Now, if you look at that particular area of business, it's huge, and the opportunity and the problems are also huge. But if we look at those set of problems, we've already started working on delivering VMware Cloud services to solve those problems with operations. These are niche use cases which we are delivering as services today. And if you've heard about Wavefront, it's something which can do application telemetry and go ahead and deliver operations on applications based on business data in terms of whether the business is impacted or not, and you can measure those services. Similarly, Network Insight, which allows you to make sure that you have firewall rules not only within your private data centers, but across different clouds, and they can be managed to make sure that you're always secure, whether you're running in a single cloud or cross-cloud across different vendors. And then the other services as well, which are here on this page. I'll not talk about each one of them, but essentially if you look at them, they map to basic operational needs which customers have today in private cloud, and they basically map to all this operational needs which will come up in various different cloud vendors in the public cloud or across clouds as well. And we're already delivering some of these services today, which you see on the screen. Of course, we have a lot on the roadmap, but I want to make sure I don't call that out right now. But you will hear it from VMware to VMworld as we release more services. So essentially the goal is to give you consistent infrastructure, consistent operations across different clouds, cloud of your choice basically. Now, while I touched upon the infrastructure and the IT piece, I want to make sure that our application folks who are listening to this presentation or might listen to it later on also understand that we're not limiting the VMware platform to virtual machines, but we are extending it to containers. And we recently announced our Pivotal Container Services, which is running on the Google Container Engine and allows you to go ahead and build on top of containers. And the beauty is that while you're using those services in the back end, we already have the analytics, automation, logging, monitoring, etc., helping and ready to ensure that we can give you consistent operations across the container world or cloud-native applications as well. With that, I do want to touch upon, finally, I'm wrong on the statistics. We have 500,000 customers, seems, and of course, every Fortune 500 with more than 75,000 partners. We have already decided what the cloud strategy is, and we are already delivering on that. If you have any questions, any comments, or if you have if you need any help with your cloud strategy, make sure to reach out to VMware, to me, or to David Davis. He can help connect as well. Finally, we are a strategic partner in cloud, whether it's around applications, it's around software as a service, it's around public cloud, or it's around your private cloud as well. So make sure you leverage the assets which you have, and at the same time leverage what we are building for you guys to ensure that you concentrate on your business and not worry about the cloud. Some of the services which I spoke about are available today. So you can go to cloud.vmware.com and you can request access and get approved and play around with those services. You already know about VMware Hands-On Labs, where you can look at all our private cloud products as well. So essentially, whether you're looking at private cloud services or public cloud services, all the products are available, and you can play with them, learn them, and see how you can help your organizations grow their business. With that, I would like to thank you, and thank you for listening in.
Great presentation. Thank you, Sunny. You and I have talked a lot about operations and virtualization for quite a few years, off and on. So we've got quite a few questions related to those types of topics here from our audience. So sure. The first person, Joshua, he's asking about, he has some existing licenses. So if he was interested in VMware Cloud on AWS, is there some way to leverage existing licenses?
I think we do have programs which look at existing licenses and existing credits. I would recommend you to either get in touch with your sales account manager, or if you want, you can write an email to me, and I can connect you directly. For everyone, I'm on duas@vmware.com. That's duas@vmware.com.
duas@vmware.com. Okay. Another question here. George is asking, in relation to the Spectre bug, he's asking, do you have any recommendations on cloud security? I mean, does VROps help in some way with cloud security, or are there other VMware products you recommend for security?
That's a great question. I can go on for a full day on Spectre and Meltdown. I don't want to do that, but essentially, if you look at the vulnerabilities which have come out, they are around security, but essentially they're just opening the gates at this moment where you can be hacked or compromised. Now, we do have our product set within the Cloud Management Business Unit called vRealize Network Insight. And along with that, it plays very well along with NSX. So if you have NSX deployed and you can do micro-segmentation, then VRNI can actually go ahead and tell you what parts of your business or IT landscapes can be compromised because of these vulnerabilities. And hence, you can use that to create your firewall plans and micro-segment your environment to ensure that you do not get attacked till the time you're not doing your patching. Now, that's one part of the problem. The second part of the problem is that as per the analysis which has been done so far, once the patching is done on your workloads or on your hypervisors, no matter which hypervisor it is, you will have performance issues, you will have capacity shortfalls, and you will have higher utilization of workloads as compared to what it was before. So your CPU and memory resources will tend to jump up in a population, which basically means that you will need to understand what is the current capacity scenario on your clusters, how much is the current contention or performance metrics, what are they saying today, and based on that, plan for new hardware, or use features like workload balance within VROps, which can help you to place your virtual machines in the right containers so that they get the capacity or the utilization numbers they require. So yeah, I'm already working on a webcast on that, so hopefully it'll be on my blog soon, and feel free to attend.
Excellent. And what's your blog, Sunny? Where do you blog at?
It's vexpress. Oh, it's a difficult one. It's vexpress.blogspot.com, or you can just search for Sunny Dua blog on Google, and that'll get you there.
Okay. And I also know that you blog on the VMware Cloud Management blog as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so if people want to learn more about VMware Cloud Solutions, I know you recommended, was it cloud.vmware.com?
That is correct.
Okay. And, of course, VMware's Cloud Management blog, and then I know you also mentioned the VMware Hands-On Labs, which I've used many times to learn VMware vRealize operations, as well as all the other VMware products that you talked about today. So thanks so much for being on the Cloud Solutions Megacast today, Sunny.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you everyone for attending.
Excellent. For more information, of course, check out VMware's resource or any of those resources I mentioned. And I want to call attention to a question that's on your screen right now that says, would you like to be one of the first to learn more about VMware's cloud solutions? And if you're interested, just click sure right there, and you'll be at the top of the list to learn more about VMware. And I'll leave that up while I announce our first set of prize winners. So the first prize winner for an Amazon $500 gift card is going to Christine Ho from Virginia. Congratulations, Christine. And the first Microsoft Surface laptop is going to Jacob Bradley from Oklahoma. Congratulations, Christine and Jacob, and best of luck to everyone else. We've got 4 more gift cards and 4 more Surface laptops to give away today. All right, so if you haven't answered that question, go ahead and do it now, because we are moving on to the next presentation in today's Cloud Solutions Megacast. All right, so we gave away our prizes, and now I'm excited to introduce the next presenter on today's Megacast, and that is Craig Lee. He's the Chief Solutions Architect at Blue Medora. Craig, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dave, for having me, and hello to everybody who's dialed in, the audience there for this Cloud Megacast.
Thanks for being on. Take it away, Craig.
Sounds great. So it's actually a bit of a build on to what Sunny was talking about, where he was talking about broadly with the VMware strategy around hybrid cloud, where your data goes, and really what you're looking at from an operational perspective. And I'm going to dive into some examples around tactics and even show a bit of a demo of kind of how to dive into that around best practices. So this presentation is called 3 Steps to a Single Source of Truth. We're going to start with talking about customer concerns that we've heard, and there's a common thread here. So some of these quotes are, there are too many tools, and DevOps does their own thing, and we're all looking at different data, and there's no single source of truth. So those are kind of a theme where frequently tools are decided upon by the various teams. Perhaps they are not shared across the organization, and perhaps they're looking at a limited set of targets, which those tools may be specialized and great for their single domain, such as something that's great at monitoring the database, for example, but has no visibility into the virtualization layer underneath it, or perhaps the storage layer underneath that, or networking, or anything else. So that's a theme that we'll be addressing here. And the other theme, too, is we don't know there is a problem until it's too late. And so with that, it's really diving into the visibility you're able to grab across all of the various aspects within your organization, and in really trying to understand what is the root of those issues. And the only way to do that is to have visibility from the application layer all the way down through the infrastructure stack, and perhaps the hybrid cloud infrastructure that you're hosting it on as well. So we're going to dive into what that looks like in practice here in a minute. So these are some quotes we have from Forrester Research talking about inefficiency. So really, it's costing your organization, 5 FTEs effectively over 3 years. Over provisioning is a large issue that I see, especially around the world of hybrid cloud. As our data gets spread across the world, now we have more and more VMs and containers and database instances and everything just running in a variety of locations. And so with that, there's a tendency to over provision things, and because if you don't have the visibility across all those different containers, you're really allocating storage or allocating resources to something that doesn't need to be operational. So part of our thesis is if we're able to pull all of that information together within one place, we're able to actually affect the actual operating expense. So this is, again, a bit of a build on what Sunny was talking about within vRealize operations. So what we do at Blue Medora is we bring in a variety of infrastructure targets, so a variety of aspects within your technical stacks, and we bring those into vRealize operations. And we're going to get a bit of a demo of that here in a second. And then the idea is that we're able to extend what is in vRealize operations and look at the analytics engine, look at alerting, and look at capacity planning. So we do this by looking at about 50 extensions that we have today that will plug into vRealize operations and vRealize orchestrator as well. And these generally are agentless type connections. They're very basic to configure, usually just a host name, username, and password. And within a few minutes, we're able to get information around compute, storage, database, application, all of that type of information within vRealize operations. And next, I'm going to talk about the actual value of what that will bring to you. So this is one of our use cases that we're looking at from the product management team. It's around hybrid cloud monitoring and tool consolidation. So the idea being that we're able to bring everybody together, so we have a single tool that everybody can have conversations around. We have dashboards around specific use cases and the ability to customize those dashboards. But with that, you're also able to get a very high quality of data coming in. So that could be the actual queries that you're pulling data from and be able to trace that all the way through the infrastructure stack to things such as shared resources. Perhaps we're talking about the hybrid cloud, so Azure, Amazon resources, things of that nature, and able to really look at what is really utilizing those resources. Where are your performance issues actually originating? The other primary use case we're looking at from the product side is root cause analysis. So the only way to really get root cause analysis is to really see all the different layers that could be causing the potential issue. So by bringing all of that information together within vRealize operations, we're able to go through and get alerts directly from things such as the hardware. Perhaps it's alerts looking at the actual analytics engine, so it'll warn me when CPU usage is trending at a very high level, for example, on the virtual machine. And perhaps we can correlate that to a delay and a high query time on the SQL server. So we're able to trace all that together. That's our second point, too, about the embedded expertise is really by alerting you to where there are issues, we can help guide the actual resolution process. And one of the most powerful aspects, I think, of this is the relationship mapping that's built in. So when I say built in, most of the relationships that you need are just being created automatically. So when I say that, I mean things like going from your storage array's volume or LUN right into the VMware data store, and the VMware data store knows about the virtual machine, and we know what applications such as Tomcat or Microsoft SQL are running at the virtual machine layer. All of those relationships and complex topologies are created automatically. And there are means, too, within vRealize operations to do custom grouping, which is great because then you can break things out by functional area or site. And so we support both of those models, and we're able to really extend what VMware has created within that platform to every single layer of your infrastructure. Finally, within use case focus 3, really looking at the predictive analytics and capacity planning piece. So there's a very powerful engine within vRealize operations, and what we do is we flag certain KPIs that are especially important, and some of those things perhaps are storage, throughput, latency, things of that nature, but also there's more interesting ones too around things such as number of sessions allowed for a particular database, looking at whatever setting it has. And what's great is we're able to throw that at the analytics engine within vRealize operations, and it can give you either forecasts and trends, or it can identify whenever there are anomalies within your environment. So typically I tell customers to get everything set up within VROps, usually let it run for a couple days. It really kind of bakes in and learns your environment in a lot of ways, and then it will understand trends. So it'll start to notice, if CPU utilization on a production server is at 20%, and then it spikes to 70% for a sustained time, it'll start to flag that as being an anomaly. So it's very dynamic. And what's also great about that kind of alerting model is there's no extra configuration that really has to be done. So when we're looking at more traditional tooling, tooling from, say, the late 90s or early 2000s, you would have to set thresholds for every single alert event, whereas VROps really learns your entire environment. And with what we're bringing within the True Visibility Suite, it's able to learn all the different aspects of the environment and really to alert you to those events dynamically. The other piece of this too is capacity planning. So now we're not looking at it from there's a potential issue and alerting you to the issue, but it's also forecasting into the future. So it will give you some information to tell you when you're running out of room, for example, or if things are trending upwards from a utilization standpoint, give you some actionable information. So you as the IT administrator can actually look at something and decide if you need to build out extra nodes within that Docker cluster, or if you need to allocate more database transaction units on Azure, for example. We give you that kind of information, and and really the tools you need to be able to scale up. And finally, we have enterprise class support. So all of our extensions are supported with around the globe 24/7, 365, and we can also help you with custom dashboards and use cases. We're really working on that as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and dive in and really show off some of our various technologies here. So again, this is a vRealize Operations 6.6 system. So this is a VMware product that we have extended with the True Visibility Suite, our extensions. I can see here that we have two different Microsoft SQL Server systems, and as I click on them, you can see that the listing of queries has changed. Right, so again, that goes back to the power of relationships, which I had mentioned. So we're going to go to the one with the higher wait time. I have here a variety of queries. I have 94 queries, and really I have this sorted by what are the worst performing queries, so I can sort by average execution time. And I can see the query that has the highest average execution time, the exact text. So again, it's going back to that theme about breaking down silos and bringing together different tool sets. So traditionally something like this may be a tool that is specialized in really looking at the actual DBA persona, but now both DBA and the system administrator can have a conversation around this. So we can look at the actual SQL text, and we have some good KPIs about how long it took to run and last execution time. But this is where it gets very powerful in breaking out to the infrastructure is the actual virtual machine that is running that particular query is a high write latency. So VROps has really learned my environment, and it's flagging this as being an anomaly. I can look at the actual ESXi host, and there's high write latency as well. Finally, there's the hardware layer we can look at too, which is the Cisco Blade. So here I don't see any issues that are going on. And then from there, we can take the next hop within the infrastructure and look at the actual Cisco switch it's associated with. So decent memory utilization and CPU throughput, but no real anomalies being flagged here. But as I drive through this and look at the VMware data store itself, I see high write latency being flagged. That VMware data store is being hosted on this particular NetApp storage system. So here I have a decent write latency. But as I drive through into the LUN side, so this would be the networking side of that particular storage array, I can see that it's flagging high write latency and high write IOPS. So within one dashboard that we built around this particular use case, I can drive in from noticing that my SQL Server has high wait time, looking at the queries themselves, and able to go through all the different supporting infrastructure. So taking one step back, what does that really look like in terms of solving problems and looking at a variety of integrations? So what Blumador offers is the ability to extend what is already powerful within vRealize Operations. And we can look at the actual SQL Server database. So here I have several instances that are being monitored. And with all the Blumador integrations, we have hundreds of metrics that are available. So this is definitely available for you to really look at and dive into, especially around use cases or custom reporting, anything along those lines. So you have the tools to actually build this up. But from here, we can go to the server instance. I can see that this server instance is running on this virtual machine. Now, the server instance itself seems to be good. We're not getting any alerts on that. But as I click on the virtual machine, I have a alert list, right? So these are alerts for that particular virtual machine. For example, the read IO latency is high, and we could dive into that and perhaps do some troubleshooting. But we could also dive in further down the stack and look at the actual host system itself. I can see that this virtual machine is running through these Cisco Fabric interconnects. And again, I am using Cisco and NetApp in this example, but this could be Dell on a EMC Extreme IO system or HP on a 3PAR or anything else too. We have a variety of systems. And I'm able to trace that down to a particular data store. And again, that data store down to the LUN, down to the NetApp volume itself. So from this, I'm able to really trace through my infrastructure, and this may be a view that's a little more tailored at the IT operations persona. So moving on, one of the questions that we commonly get is, what is the difference of what Blumador brings into VROps versus what VMware has out of the box with VROps? So I think vRealize Operations it's definitely one of the best monitoring platforms out there, especially in terms of the virtualization use case. Out of the box, it looks at things such as virtual machines and host systems and data stores. Again, very, very powerful. It's able to look at the KPIs and capacity around that. But if you're able to look at what Blumador brings to the table with our True Visibility Suite, you can see this exact same infrastructure, and we can trace it down to these Oracle databases that are related to the virtual machine and then the host system. And then so again, the virtual machine and host system, they're coming in what VMware has already created, which is again very powerful for monitoring, but we're able to extend that both above and below it into the application layer and to the infrastructure layer, all the way down through and looking at the networking switch and the data store and NetApp and so on. And we're able to really integrate in with what VMware already brings to us as far as the actual power of VROps. So my final piece of this particular demo is a custom dashboard that we have really focused around alerting and the alerting use cases. So again, it's going back to that theme of that single tool that everybody can really use to benefit and really find out what the root causes are. Here we have a variety of alerts that we are bringing in. This particular one we're bringing in from a Cisco Nexus 5010 switch. So it's an alert to us that the port is down, its administrative status is up, so it should be online. Best practices, it's online, so for us it's getting a particular alert. You can, within VROps, actually assign alerts, and you can have various teams or various users also using this as well. So in our fictitious demo environment, we have the hardware operations team, the NOC team, and the Oracle team. And from this, we can sort by criticality. Perhaps the network operations team has found the alert, and then they've assigned it to the actual hardware ops team. And what's great about this is now you can see all the different dependent pieces of this and all the things that are connected. So as I'm going through this here, this is a particular NetApp system, for example, that we're getting this port down message on. It's connected to this switch. As I clicked on the switch, I now have KPIs in that particular switch, so I have things like throughput and packets received and errors and all kinds of good information. And then we can also see the fabric interconnect that it's attached to, or again, perhaps we want to go into the actual SAN itself. So as I dive into this, I can double click, and now I can really dive into the actual alerts themselves. And see from today, I have 10 alerts with the actual port down. And where this is interesting too is if I have any kind of hardware failure, I can really dive out and see what the aspects of the actual impact are, and really understand what that outage would mean across the organization. I'm able to trace that through. Good. So this is, again, reiterating our overall theme is we can extend the power of monitoring to bring in all the variety of targets and various aspects of the infrastructure. And here are some more broad categories, and you can see logos here of all the various systems that we actually attach to. And what this looks like in practice are these various packages. So this is what we have today, and we're always adding more and more to it. We have a pricing model that's very similar to what you're getting in VROps today. We correspond to the exact same units that VMware has, so that's per processor or per operating system instance. And you can see that we go in the standard pack, we have things such as Cisco UCS and HP Compute, and we're looking at some storage. We expand that out in the advanced pack to bring in some more of the virtualization layer and networking as well. So we even have things like load balancer, or perhaps we're looking at things like Docker or Hyper-V. We also have what's called a manager of managers category. And this is kind of interesting, where it really doubles down on that theme of VROps being your centralized tool, where a lot of organizations run Microsoft SCOM. It's very good at looking at Microsoft applications. Or perhaps you have something like IBM Tivoli, because it's great at monitoring things like AIX and DB2. Well, what we're saying is if you're able to bring all that data into VROps itself, we can make relationships on it. We can start to categorize things together because of the power of relationships and the grouping within VROps, and really have a central conversation around this. And then finally, we have the Enterprise Pack, and the Enterprise Pack brings in the application layer, so things such as our monitoring for SAP App Server, Red Hat, JBoss, and Apache Tomcat, really starting to bring all of that together. So as far as next steps, go to blumidor.com, follow us on Twitter or Facebook as well to get information there. And from there, we can definitely reach out. We'll be able to facilitate any kind of trial or POC that you're interested in. And looking forward to having the conversation further with you. So thanks, everybody.
Great presentation, Craig. I really like the demo. Always love seeing products in action. So let's go to some questions now. And while I do that, I'm going to pop up a poll question for the audience and just leave that on the screen. That is, would you like to be one of the first to learn more about Blumidor's cloud solutions? I'll just leave that on the screen while we do our Q&A. So first question here that came in is about kind of understanding the dashboards. So, I mean, you have this massive list of products that you extend VROps to be able to manage. Do each one of those extensions, if you will, come with dashboards, or do you create custom dashboards based on those, or how does that all work?
Excellent question, David, and also the person who brought that up. So within all of our products, we average around 5 dashboards out of the box that are usually use case focused. Generally, every single product will be related back to the virtualization layer somehow. So we'll have a Microsoft SQL on vSphere focused dashboard, and that's an example where we're able to kind of trace that all the way through. But really, what we kind of intend all these to be is, yes, they are use case focused, but the real power, as you saw within the demo, is they bring together all the different aspects. And I really kind of view these as being Lego blocks. So we give you the relationships and tool set you need to build custom dashboards. And if you're engaged with any deal with us, we do have a professional services organization that can get you going. And often during that POC process, we talk about use cases, and we're able to just provide custom dashboards around those as well.
Okay. And a question here came in. Dan's asking, what you showed on the demos, were those things automatically configured, or how many of those did you have to go out and kind of manually build?
Right. So every single one of those dashboards was custom made, but I will say that we were able to basically build one of those full stack dashboards that I showed end to end within about 5 minutes now. And we'd definitely be willing to do that during any kind of trial or POC process and kind of help you get something like that going. Because of the relationships in the framework, it's as simple as dragging and dropping whatever those things you want to monitor are, and really hitting OK, and everything's fine.
Okay. And a question from Warren here. He's asking about the network consumption that's required for this type of monitoring in the data center. Does it consume a lot of bandwidth to do this?
That's a very excellent question, especially as we're talking about multi-site. So I'll kind of take the 2 different approaches on this. For one, within vRealize operations, best practice would be to have multiple VROps systems deployed in each physical data center. So perhaps you have one in Germany, one in North America, one in APAC. You would want to have at least one VROps system collecting there. And then all that data really gets summarized into the actual master nodes. So if you're doing that, VMware has really built this awesome platform to really scale, especially on a global basis. As far as the actual nuts and bolts of it from a running queries and SNMP perspective, all of our collections by default run every 5 minutes. That is tunable, and we have worked with very large customers, for example, about like turning off alerts on all of the disks of a NetApp array because perhaps they have hundreds. So there are different levers that you can push and pull on those as well.
Okay. Are there any sort of evaluations or like demo management packs that people can use to try this out?
Yes. So if you go to our website, you can sign up for a trial. Somebody will reach out, but definitely be willing to get you going with this. And we also have hosted demo environments online. So again, just go ahead and reach out to us. We'd be able to facilitate in any way anybody wants to take a look at all of our technology.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for being on today, Craig.
Thanks for having me, David.
For more information on Blue Medora's ability to extend vRealize operations with their True Visibility Suite, check out the resource that's there on your console. And if you notice there on the second page, it has a list of all the different packages and the platforms, the management packs that are available in those different offerings. So for those of you who had questions about that, make sure you check that out. All right, if you haven't answered the question on your screen, make sure you do that now. And while I announce our next set of prize winners, I'm going to just leave that up. So the next Amazon $500 gift card is going to John Miller from North Carolina. Congratulations, John. And the next Microsoft Surface laptop is going to Jimmy Doong, D-U-O-N-G, from Illinois. Congratulations, Jimmy, and congratulations to John. We will announce those prize winners in the Q&A as well as over on Twitter. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and move on. And I'm now excited to introduce Jordan Warsoff, who is a solutions engineer at Unitrends. Jordan, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Take it away.
Sure. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone out there. Real quick, I kind of want to talk about today about your enterprise cloud capabilities. So those of you who may or may not know Unitrends, we're a business continuity and disaster recovery company. So while that's not directly in terms of a cloud platform, we have a lot to do when it comes to either considering the cloud or utilizing the cloud to preserving your business's ability to continue or enhancing your disaster recovery capabilities. As you've noticed, today's day and age is really the less is more world. We're required to do more with less. We've got more responsibility, more demand on our team, but we've got less to be able to do it. The cloud is trying to address this by making things scalable, easier to use, so that the management, infrastructure, and all that time is reduced so that our time producing is increased. And we've got a ton of threats facing us, obviously ransomware and other external threats, disastrous threats such as snowstorms, power outages, meteor strikes, tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, famine, all can potentially reduce your business's functionality. And if you use this all in a data center that's local, then that means you're exposing yourself to risks that come with, Earth and Mother Nature. If you have your data center on site and it goes down, then you lose not only your working location, but anything that you were running out of that data center too. That's why people are considering the cloud. It's a great place to move your information off-site, to run some production workloads at that remote location, but sometimes the cost is a little prohibitive, or the capability, or there's something that you just can't do by taking those pieces off-site. But you still want to take advantage of the fact that you can utilize that continuity. And that's kind of where some kind of business continuity solution that can really utilize the cloud is going to be vital. We're trying to escape those kind of threats. Delta is a great example. Back in 2016, a single data center outage wasn't even a natural disaster, just an outage. Cost the company $150 million. The average data center cost is about $700K. So those outages have a cost. And you really can calculate a very easy expected value against your return of investment by the percentage risk, cost of that outage, and then multiply that out, and that's how much you should be spending to try to avoid said risk. We've all kind of done these calculations before, and that's really what an all-in-one business continuity solution is trying to accomplish. Which kind of brings me to my next point. So Apple might seem a little out of whack. Like, why are we talking about this? Well, they weren't the first iPhone. In fact, when they came out, they weren't even the best iPhone or the cheapest. It came out without 3G. It came out unable to, I don't think you could add apps. The email was limited. There was a lot of stuff that people were like, why is Apple doing this? But the iPhone took off. The iPhone was the most popular smartphone and really revolutionized what we did. Whether or not you're an Apple fanboy or not, totally fine. You don't have to love Apple to realize that they really changed the market. What they did is they took everything in an all-in-one and made it easy to use. Palm Pilot, BlackBerry had their options out there, but they weren't getting caught on. Some niche businesses were using them, and BlackBerry had great pickup, but they didn't have full functionality. The great part about BlackBerry was you could email on the go. Apple took it far further. They enabled much more screen real estate, much more you're able to do. You kind of get the sense that Apple wasn't focused on just saying, hey, here's things we can do. They focused on making it usable. And that kind of usability, that taking it that all-in-one, is really the kind of approach that's been creeping in all over IT. Nutanix is a great example of this. We've had hyper-converged capabilities. You easily could put a Blade server together and do this, but what makes Nutanix special? The reason they have such a high valuation and that people are so interested in their technology is because their capability of making it simple and easy to deploy is what takes you to the next level. Making it so that you can spend less time managing, more time producing is the most important thing. And that's kind of where Unitrends comes into play. When you're talking about a business continuity disaster recovery solution, enabling the cloud is just one huge piece in ensuring that you can continue to move on with your business while not having that overhead that other functions, companies, solutions might force you to provide. When you're looking to a business continuity or DR solution, you should be looking to have a solution that provides no finger pointing, less management, more flexibility, more uptime, more confidence in your recoverability, and frankly, and this is like kind of I think the most important thing, is more free time. You really can't buy time. We each are in the office X number of hours a week, and we have so much to be able to accomplish. Making sure that backup isn't eating up at your time, but is rather the safety net that you can rely on is, I think, vital for a solution that's going to take your business to the next level. And that's really what Unitrends tries to provide with our all-in-one enterprise backup solution. We provide continuity by taking you out of the old world. The old world, these piecemealed solutions where you had different components doing these little backups, and then you're trying to do these recoveries. Instead, we're taking it all in one. It's one hand to shake, one throat to choke. We've got the server, the software, and the storage all in one. It's easy to deploy. We provide local continuity, cloud continuity, along with automated recovery testing. We provide a Linux backbone, so that way you're not exposed to all the common Windows threats that have been coming up through ransomware. And it's a unified customer support experience. We have an awesome customer support team that's been able to help you in those times of disasters. Support's really important to make sure things function. Support is dire when it comes to your disaster recovery, because you want a 24/7 solution where if anything is to happen at any given time, you can pick up the phone and call and be like, help, it's 3 a.m., we have a power outage, and our patient's medical records need to be up and online. You can talk to Unitrends and we say, no problem, we'll fail you over to our cloud, or no problem, let's go through the recovery process, or no problem, we can help you with that. That kind of backup in your corner, that kind of backup, pun intended, by the way, that kind of backup, that kind of support is really how you can go for the next level to ensure your continuity, ensure your business can function and perform exactly everything you need to do. So, when trying to find a way to ensure your business continuity, be ruthless in your pursuit of simplicity. Be ruthless in your capability to ensure your recoverability, and make sure that you have a support call that's going to enable you to have everything. By also consolidating the vendors you use, it's one support line that you deal with us. You call in one number, and you're going to be talking to someone that can help you with cloud, that can help you with backup, that can help you with recovery, that can help you with getting a new hardware piece. All these pieces are consolidated rather than having to call in and getting, this vendor. No, actually, that's VMware's fault. VMware picks up. Oh, no, it's the server's fault. The server picks up. Actually, no, it's the motherboard's fault. So you have this game of pointing finger chicken where everyone can blame each other rather than you taking and being able to manage everything that you want to be able to accomplish. And that's exactly what Unitrends is trying to provide. And our cloud can do so too. Rather than having to have multiple vendors, you can utilize our cloud, provide our physical and virtual DR as a service with a 1-hour guaranteed SLA for Windows, VMware, Hyper-V, along with a ton of confidence. Not to mention, we keep it simple. You want to send your data up, we can physically seed it in. You want to recover your data back, we can physically seed it out. We never require you to download or upload things over the internet and wait that time to be able to do your recoveries. Not to mention, one of our biggest pieces is we provide an automated testing for recovery assurance. When your backups are complete, we can utilize those backups. Rather than having them sit there, we can actually automate the testing process. Gone are the days of seeing a login screen and being told, that's it. What we do now is we'll go in and we'll log in for you automatically, run some scripts, and we can generate and give you reports on how well your applications are performing. So that way, not only do you know your backup and recovery the data was sent, but that the backup is actually usable. You get a recovery point, a point in time that you can say, yes, this not only was able to be recovered, but the data is good, and you can run those SQL systems off of this. It's a great way to kind of integrate the whole piece and give you a holistic approach to what you're going to be able to recover. And we provide multiple use cases. Let's say you don't want to go with our cloud. That's totally fine. We provide a lot of continuity solutions for AWS and Azure. We provide migration, DR. We can use it in offsite backup copy target. And we can use it to back up the instances running in Azure and AWS. These first two, the cloud migration or disaster recovery, those are actually our Boomerang tool. So the Unitrends Boomerang tool, that basically is our capability of we install Unitrends Boomerang locally. It's running in your VMware environment. It'll then take snapshots, send them up to your AWS or Azure storage pool, S3 or the Azure Blob Storage, put it in groups, send them up, and it's just sitting there. No running instances required, no compute, just the storage. Once it's there, if there's an outage, that's step 4. Step 5, what we're going to do is we'll kick off a failover in that EC2 or Azure instance, and what it'll do is it'll spin up using that storage, resuming operations in the cloud, using all the settings you had in your local VMware environment. It's really a nice, simple, and easy approach, and then with a couple clicks, you can then start to transfer back down to a local VMware environment and begin the recovery there. So you get a lot of capabilities, a lot of functionality, a lot of usage is going to enable you to do a ton. So that's this Boomerang piece where we can summarize that basically in saying replicate the VMs, low-cost storage, remodels them, keeps your settings intact, uses no compute, and then automates all the steps to fail over, and then can automate the steps to bring it back. So this is the exact tool you can use just to migrate up a couple VMs, or this is the exact tool you can use to do a failover in case of those disasters should occur. The other half is the offsite backup copies and the backing up those instances. That's where we use the Unitrends capability. What Unitrends can do, and we're going to dive into this in a little more detail in a second, but basically Unitrends is doing your backups locally. You want to get your data offsite. You don't want to pay for another colo. You don't have another site you want to set up something. That's okay. So you can go ahead and spin up a Unitrends instance in AWS or Azure. We're offered in the marketplaces. Set us up as a target, send your data there. So are you using the compute and everything there? Yeah, sure. But the nice thing is that we can send the data up and then you can download it and recover it if need be. On top of that, we also offer the capabilities to protect the workloads that are running in those clouds. Deploy that Unitrends instance, install small lightweight agents, and be able to give you file-level backups of each of your instances, back it up there, and then you can replicate that out. Send it to our cloud, send it back to a local site, whatever you need. You can utilize this kind of mixed method for ensuring you're protecting everything and it's all recoverable. So this is a great way to kind of, as you kind of notice, there's a lot of capabilities, and this is just around cloud. We haven't even gotten to all the stuff we can do locally. And this is important because it means by having such a broad array of what we can protect, what we can recover, consider, and all of that means that you don't have to worry about as you grow, expand, change, morph, whatever it may be, Unitrends is going to be able to meet you there. We're going to be able to protect it, find a way to do it, and it's all going to be under one interface and all from that one support call. So let's kind of take a step back for a second and breathe in. What does Unitrends offer? So the flagship product that we're kind of talking about is that all-in-one physical appliance. The recovery series appliance includes the server, the storage, the software, all in one. If you like that, but you want to provide your own hardware, that's where the Unitrends backup software comes into play. You can deploy it in VMware, Hyper-V, Zen Server, or in your own Azure or AWS environment. So cool, you got these great capabilities that enable us to be able to protect our workloads and recover whatever we need. We also offer the Boomerang tool, where we can take local VMware instance, send it up to Azure AWS, and we can spin up in those locations. And then lastly, we also have an Office 365 backup capability where we can take your running Exchange, OneDrive, or SharePoint in Office 365, back it up to another Azure instance, so something should go awry, whether it's malicious or accidental or incidental. Unitrends can come in and we can recover individual emails, whole mailboxes, whole calendars, whatever you may need, we're going to be there to be able to provide and recover it as long as we're backing it up. Cool. A lot of stuff. So let's kind of look at what the backups really look like. So you deploy locally to what you want to protect, whether that's in the cloud, your local site, whatever it may be. Unitrends all provides within a single, easy-to-use, single pane of glass for the management. In fact, if you have multiple appliances, all of them can be managed from a single interface. All commands, reports, everything. So we protect all sorts of different things, physical servers, virtual servers, NAS devices, applications. We do that all through file-level backups, application-level backups, snapshots of VMware Hyper-V, Zen Server. We also offer the capability of doing NAS backups where we can take out a NAS share, backup just some of it using CIFS, NFS, or even NDMP, and application support for a bunch of them. We'll also be adding in Nutanix support shortly, should be this or next month, and we're going to be able to take snapshots running in Nutanix devices. We can take snapshots running AHV, not just VMware Hyper-V, fully integrated with that. Recoveries then allow you to recover individual files, whole machines, bare metal recoveries, tons of stuff that you can do and manage, whatever you might want to do. Once all your backups are done, everything's going to be deduplicated in line, stored down locally, so it's efficient storage, but that's not enough. We have that problem of where I'm all in the same place. Cool, we can fix that by sending that data somewhere else. We can copy that backup, a cold backup copy target to some kind of rotational disk drive, NAS devices, SAN, tape, even send it off to some cloud. Or we can do what we call that hot backup copy, some people refer to as replication. Got the copy of our backups. Let's send it to the Unitrends cloud. Let's send it to a secondary site. Let's send it to a hyperscale cloud. All those options are available. And at that secondary location, we can do the testing of the spin up, where we can do that recovery assurance and can automate that process to tell you how long, how slow, how efficient that recovery is going to be. So a lot of capabilities all packed into one little box. I'm going to go ahead and take the next few minutes. We can go ahead and kind of look at what the Unitrends device can do and how easy it is to be able to manage it. Let's see if I got this. And we should be able to see, not yet. Here we go. So this is the dashboard screen. I get a high-level overview of everything that's going on in my environment. I can even see the recovery assurance. These are the jobs I'm running to make sure I'm meeting my RTO or RPO. If I've missed it, if there's any warnings or failures, I can easily see that from here. Same with my backups. It looks like there's no errors. Some VMs aren't being protected. Most of them are. I can easily go in and check whatever I want to do, see how much storage. Here I can see the multiple appliances that are being run, and if there were any jobs being run down there, I'd be able to set it up. Setting up a backup job is super simple. I can either come here to the job manager, set up a backup job, where what this case is I select which assets. That's what Unitrends calls what we're trying to protect. Let's say VMware, for example. I go in, and I can select which machines I want to protect. The virtual disks can be adjusted here. And then I can go in and automatically include new VMs if I want to, and then come in, and once I'm done, set up the schedule. By default, we do an incremental forever, where we run one full backup, and then from there on out, we only run incrementals. The data is then stored all within the Unitrends appliance, and we can build out those synthetic fulls, so you don't have to worry about being stuck doing all of it in one place. On top of that, you can set up your own schedule, adjust it as you need be, or even set up your own custom schedule to do exactly the timing that you want right here. If this is too complicated for you, understand we also have an SLA policy-based where you can build out your backup schedule based on policies. You set your RPO, so your recovery point objective, you say what backup times you want it to go, and you let Unitrends take care of the rest. Unitrends will automatically set up how frequently to run the backups based on your RPO. We'll build it in here. You can easily adjust it, build multiple tiers, adjust, add, or remove machines from each of the schedules, and then set it up, and you're going to be good to go. So it's a great and easy way to be able to configure, set up, and recover whatever you might need to do from within here. So that's a great way to get that SLA policy, to be able to manage that. On top of that, the last thing we really like to do is being able to set up your recoveries. You can see your different backups and what you want to be able to recover right from within here. Check off the things you want to do. And we can even recover individual files from within a VM or the file level backups there. And then all of it's reported and easily managed right from this one interface where I can see, for example, the recovery testing. I set that up right here, and I can view where and what step was done here. I can see the different application tests that were run, and it's good, and I can recover whatever I might need or want to be able to do. So you can see a lot of power and a lot of capabilities, but all simple to do. You find the function, you click it, and you're able to do it. And that's really what Unitrends tries to provide. We're really here to provide an all-in-one holistic solution where we can go in, we can back up whatever you need, recover it all there, send it off-site easily, or copy to some kind of cheap removable media. And the nice thing is that all of it can easily be protected, whether you're sending it to our cloud, your cloud, or a hyperscale cloud. So really getting stuff off-site is important to us too. And really at the end of the day, we sum it up into these 4 main points, which is we wanted to protect everything you have, provide you the continuity everywhere you need, and guarantee that recovery using our recovery assurance, and do it all within a single intuitive platform to make it easy to use. Hopefully you've seen how this can potentially make your life easier by not having to worry about backups and whether or not they're working, and make that process much faster and much more efficient. I want to thank you so much for your time and attention today. Lastly, if you want to follow us on any of the social media or media, I'm not sure what the proper pluralization is, you can feel free to follow us here. We've got a bunch of tutorials, videos, information, all sorts of stuff coming out with our product. So with that, thanks again for your time and interest in Unitrends. Hopefully you've seen how we can help you utilize the cloud to make your business continuity better, or even protect the loads you're sending up, because that's often the last thing people think about when they start to go to the cloud is how do I actually back this up.
Really cool demo. And for more information on Unitrends, make sure you check out the resource there on your console. That is Backup and Disaster Recovery as a Service, the IT Buyer's Guide. So check that out. Also check out their website. They have a lot of great tools, free evaluations, and everything like that. So Jordan's going to get to many of these questions here, as many as he can in the queue, and I appreciate everyone answering those. While I announce our next set of prize winners, I'm going to leave this question up on the screen. That is, would you like to be one of the first to learn about Unitrends cloud solutions, their cloud data protection, cloud disaster recovery solutions? So I'll just leave that up on the screen. And our next set of prize winners here, Amazon $500 gift card, we have that going out to Edie Hassan from California. Congratulations, Edie. And then we have a Microsoft Surface laptop going out to, and I'm going to spell this out so I don't mispronounce it, Q-U-A-N, Quan, N-I-N-H, from Texas. Congratulations, Quan. Congratulations, Edie. And we have 2 more Amazon $500 gift cards and 2 more Surface laptops still to give away, so make sure you stay tuned for those drawings. If you haven't answered the question on the screen, go ahead and answer right now, because we are moving on in the Cloud Solutions Megacast. All right. I'm now excited to introduce our next set of presenters on the Cloud Solutions Megacast. That is Christophe Bertrand, VP of Product Marketing, and Keith Summers, Senior Product Manager at ArcServe. Christophe, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Thanks for being on today. Take it away.
All right, let's get going. So first of all, thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. And we'll spend some time in the next few minutes to focus on our cloud-based disaster recovery solutions, and specifically a very new solution we introduced to the market a few months ago that's been very successful, and that is called Cloud Direct, and there's a very good reason for that. Before we go into the details, of our solution, and you'll get a demonstration from Keith. So stay tuned because it's a very, very cool product to take a look at. Let me tell you a little bit about ArcServe. We are an independent company. We're a software business, but we have evolved our business model to include a number of new offerings so that we can not only cover a larger part of the market, but also, and more importantly, respond to the requirements from our customers. We have a large customer base with tens of thousands of customers around the world. We're a global business, and we have not only software solutions that you can set up on premise or replicate to the cloud, but also appliances and a great set of offerings around cloud, as I mentioned, with a disaster recovery as a service solution that we'll focus on a little bit more today. I would just say that our solutions, for example, our appliance is very unique. Unlike other vendors, we do not consume a lot of storage to back up your data and replicate it because we have global deduplication. So in everything we do for backup and recovery, you will see a lot of technologies to optimize either the size of the backups or the amount of storage it takes on an appliance, for example, or a server, or any type of bandwidth type of optimization technology. We really understand backup because we've been doing this for many years. And again, as an independent company in the past few years, we've been growing our business with these new offerings. Our portfolio, when I focus it on the cloud part of the equation, is a very complete one. As I mentioned, we have on-premise solutions that allow us to back up locally, which is a very good first line of defense in many cases, but the world is changing. And in many cases, you may want to have the ability to take a copy and move it to a cloud destination. So we offer multiple options because we know that our customers have a variety of implementations and a variety of requirements. So we support public clouds such as Azure and Amazon. We do very, very cool things with those environments. We can literally provide you with a virtual standby copy of your backups ready to go. Also optimizes the cost in public cloud. So lots of great capabilities there. And that's what we call our hybrid solution, where you first back up on-premise to one of our appliances or a server that you set up yourself with our software. What is also interesting to notice here is that, backing up to cloud and going to cloud is a great way to defend yourself and protect yourself against ransomware attacks. Should anything happen, should your environment be affected, you can then go to essentially a backup copy or a disaster recovery copy of your systems and run those from a public cloud or from our own ArcServe Cloud, which is our Cloud Direct solution. I would just want to say a couple of things about ransomware. I was just on a call recently with a couple of customers, and it's definitely an epidemic that changes the way you think about backup and recovery. So something to rethink about in your strategy. And please don't fall for the marketing hype. Every system, every environment can be affected. Really an increase, especially in Linux environments these days, getting more and more attacks, as we know. And also, there is no better way than having a great security strategy in place in the first place to be able to fend off ransomware. I hear a lot about predictive analytics and things like that in the marketplace. And if a ransomware is executed in your environment, it's kind of like the weatherman telling you it's raining outside. It's no good. Okay, it's too late. What's the point of that? Maybe you can stop it a little faster, but even that is questionable. So please understand, backup and recovery is part of your security strategy and ransomware strategy. So if you look at our Cloud Direct solution, what's really cool about it is that it allows you to literally back up without having anything on site. So no need for a backup server or an appliance. It goes direct to our cloud and allows you to recover your backups, your files, or even stand up a virtual machine to be able to run your recoveries from, or just to run those systems in our cloud. And we take care of the automation, of the failover, and also the failback. And Keith will take you through some of those details. It's a very nice technology, again, for those environments where you don't want any equipment. We have customers who use a combination of on-premise and direct-to-cloud. We have customers who use only direct-to-cloud. They've replaced older maybe tape backup environments or appliances that were inefficient in their environment, and they've decided to go straight to cloud. It really mitigates the amount of investment, tuning, maintenance you have to do on all those servers, so you can really focus on your customers' service levels and other items in the IT infrastructure. So that's Cloud Direct. So as you can see, complete portfolio with a disk to cloud and a disk to cloud solution. So as I look at Cloud Direct more specifically, we have two offerings that are really complementary in many ways. The first one is our backup as a service. And one thing I will tell you is I was just on the phone an hour ago with one of our customers who's testing one of our upcoming new capability. Stay tuned, it's really, really cool. We'll announce it very soon. And he was telling me how easy the product was to set up, how in 2 or 3 minutes you can get a new server set up in the environment, how it's easy to do the backups or perform the disaster recovery functions that he needs for his organization. We provide a lot of automation. We provide a lot of simplicity because it's all web-based. Literally, you could be recovering files or recovering whole systems or standing up systems in our cloud from the coffee shop. Pick your favorite coffee shop. And that's the power of having a true disaster recovery as a service solution that was born in the cloud, that is designed for cloud service. It's optimized for mid-market environments. So truly what we've done is a solution that can scale and that can handle large data transfers as well. And we provide disaster recovery as a service in a way that allows you to fail over very quickly without too much or any actually human intervention, simply because when you think about failing over, typically it's never the right time. You may not have the right people available. It may be in a crisis situation like a ransomware attack, or there's a weather event and you have to get things failed over quickly. And, in a way, it's easy to make mistakes when that happens, or to forget that there's a VPN configuration or there's a firewall configuration that is preventing that from happening. So we take care of all of that for you, and we literally stand up a virtual environment, a virtual network in our cloud for you to use. We can even take over a local IP. Sometimes you just lose one server and all of the other applications on your site still work, and you may just want to have that server virtually work in your environment. And we can do that with our solution. So lots of capabilities. And one of the things that sets us apart is our assured recovery guarantee. We invented assured recovery. And that's a trademark, actually, that comes from our traditional software. And we're using that technology and those practices across our portfolio. And what we like to do with assured recovery is essentially provide the fact that we guarantee that you can recover your data, and we show you some automated disaster recovery capabilities in all of our products. And that is also the case with our disaster recovery as a service solution, ArcServe UDP Cloud Direct. And I think in a demonstration you'll see in a minute, Keith will demonstrate that for you. It's very, very powerful. And, backup is interesting, replication is interesting, but the true proof is in the ability to recover, and that's what we provide. So I'm going to cover the key features of our backup as a service solution, just give you a little more detail. I will do the same for the disaster recovery component, and then I'll turn it over to Keith. So again, reiterating what I said before, our backup as a service is a direct to cloud. No equipment is needed. We have built-in WAN optimization. It comes with the best in-class security and integrity to guarantee that your data is encrypted, in flight and at rest as well. So we really take security and very, very seriously. Obviously, it's a very critical aspect to be in that business, and we take care of that for you. And it's all web-based. So as I said, you can manage that from if you know how to use a browser. It's pretty much all you need to know. We have designed the solution, again, to be a cloud service from the inception. It's born in the cloud, unlike other solutions, and that gives us a great advantage that way. It gives you a great advantage because it's very easy to use, and we give you many options to recover your files and folders, and we do that, again, in a way that also allows you guarantee that you can rely on our backups. There's a lot of automation built in. You have the peace of mind that we take care of you, and of course we can show that to you every morning when you log in. You can take a look at what has backed up, what has worked. Look at the green lights and whatever issue you may have to deal with. But fundamentally, it gives you that certainty. And then if you want to upgrade in a sense to the next level of availability, our disaster recovery as a service. It's truly a push-button recovery solution. As I mentioned, we stand up a machine when you invoke the recovery in our cloud, and we will allow you essentially to also verify through automated DR that things are working as planned, and you can do all of that in our console. You do not need a backup in PhD and disaster recovery to use this solution, yet it provides you enterprise class characteristics, and it's only going to get better. As I said, stay tuned. We have some great new features coming up very soon. As I mentioned, and I will repeat it again, very important, we have a pre-provisioned cloud really for you, or environment in our cloud that really gives you the ability to limit the number of configuration steps that would be needed to fail over and also fail back. So with this in mind, I'd like to turn it over to Keith Summers, who is our Senior Product Manager in charge of our cloud offerings. And I think Keith is now going to take you through a great product demo. Keith?
Yes, thank you, Christophe, and hello, everyone. Let me attempt to share my screen with everyone. And Christophe, can you see my screen?
And it is buffering, and it is now showing up. You're good to go.
Excellent. So let's go ahead and get started. So as Christophe mentioned, we do have a web-based management portal. So if you have access to the internet and a web browser, you can log in and manage and administer your environment. This is our hosted portal. I'm going to log in with my credentials. We also support Google two-factor authentication for those requiring additional security login functionality. So here I log in. We have a managed service provider view. You can also have a single user view. So if you're a one site operation, then you can log in and you can see the systems that you're protecting. Here I'm presenting you with a managed service provider view of sorts. And as you can see, I have my list of customers. I could see how much capacity they're each consuming. I can see the summary. I have 9 customers, 20 systems in total being protected, and upwards of 1 terabyte under protection. So if I wanted to find any information about a particular customer, and as you can see down the list here, green is typically good. If there were any warnings or failures or anything like that, then these would be yellow or red, and then you can dive in and get some additional information about a specific customer. But if I wanted to take a look at one customer here, I take a look here, I can get a view over time about their usage. And I can also see that I'm protecting 14 systems for this particular customer. I simply click that, and then here I could see the systems that I'm protecting for this customer. We have both agent-based protection, where we can deploy a lightweight backup agent to each of those systems, and those systems, data from those systems can be backed up to our cloud directly from on-prem directly into the cloud. We also have an agentless protection. For our agent-based, as you can see here, you get an idea of the operating system that's running, when it was last backed up, how long it took. You can kick off a backup at any time. Of course, you have the ability to do scheduled backups at any time. And to get things, once you deploy the agent to get things started, you have the ability to go in and you create your backup tasks. You can have multiple backup tasks per system. This is a Windows system, so I have the ability to back up the system state, files, folders, exchange data. As you can see, I already have a task for SQL data. I can back up if this is the place where I'm storing any Hyper-V VM disk images. I can back those up, and if this system had access to NetApp shares, I can back those up as well. Likewise, I can specify some pre and post backup scripts if necessary. Likewise, I can specify my schedule after I create my backup task. I can indicate which days of the week and the time of day that I want these backups to occur. I can also create bandwidth throttles. So if I want to monitor and manage the amount of bandwidth that's being used for these backups, I have that capability to do that as well. We also have the ability, as I mentioned, to protect our systems from an agentless perspective. We do support VMware as well as Hyper-V. Here for VMware, I have a VMware virtual appliance deployed. This virtual appliance deploys in your vSphere environment. It talks to your vCenter server, discovers all of your virtual machines, and at any point in time that you want to protect any of these or all of these virtual machines, you simply hit Enable Backup. Once you select that Enable Backup, that system will appear on your Systems tab, and you can do filtering along the side here. So if I wanted to look at my agentlessly protected systems, I just simply click there, and then these are the systems that are being protected from an agentless perspective and being protected by this virtual appliance. Right? And if I wanted to do a restore is of course also important. I simply click on the restore link. I look for the backup task that I'm protecting for that particular system here. If I went to the volume, I can use the most current backup, or I can go back in time to an earlier point. I can restore the entire point. In this case, it's a whole disk image, or I can simply browse within that image and select maybe that Word document that inadvertently got deleted, or maybe that copy of the PowerPoint presentation that I need to present at my conference. So you have that capability as well. Now, going back to the Systems tab, we also have the ability to, as Christoph mentioned, support your disaster recovery needs. And the key point to mention here is that you have the same management interface to manage either choice of protection, backup as a service or disaster recovery as a service. So here, once a customer subscribes to disaster recovery as a service, we provision a virtual data center for you in our cloud. You get a VPN server, a firewall, you get an IP network, external IP address so that you can spin up your virtual, your servers in the cloud, and of course be able to connect to them. To enable a system to be protected with disaster recovery, you simply hit Enable Disaster Recovery. You specify how much RAM you want this system to have when you boot it up in the cloud. You optionally specify the licenses running on that server, and you simply hit Save. When you hit Save, the indication will go from Enable Disaster Recovery to being enabled for disaster recovery. And then that system, or those systems that are disaster recovery protected, will appear on your disaster recovery tab. So as I scroll down here, you can see the systems that I'm protecting using disaster recovery. And then along the lines of that automated DR testing, if you will, of course, we're ultimately looking to expand this capability to add additional orchestration and automation. But one thing that we do right now is we periodically spin up these virtual instances, take a screenshot of the login screen to kind of give you that extra comfort of that, yes, this system can be powered up in the case that I need it. You have the capability and the option to come in and activate any of these systems at your leisure to do any testing or in the event of a disaster. And to activate any of these systems, you simply hit Activate. You select the recovery point. You can go back. You can use the current. You can go back in time. You simply hit Activate. And as you can see, it starts to power on. The RTO, or the recovery time objective, is about the time it takes to boot the server, boot the Windows operating system, since that's a Windows system. While that is booting up, as you can see here from the progress there, I'll describe some other points. As I mentioned, you do get access to an external IP address, so you can configure some port forwarding. As was mentioned by Christoph, powering up your systems in the cloud is only part of the disaster recovery. You need to be able to connect to those systems when they're in the cloud. So we allow you to set up a point to site. So this is the coffee shop instance where you can connect your endpoint to the network that's of the virtual data center that's running in the cloud. We also enable you to set up site-to-site VPN connectivity. So this is where you connect your on-prem network to the network that's running in the virtual data center in our cloud for you, to handle those use cases where it maybe your entire environment didn't go down, but maybe one or two servers. You spin those servers up in the cloud, and then for that intercommunication, the systems on-prem can use that VPN, that site-to-site VPN connection to communicate with recovered servers that's running in the cloud. Some other things while we wait for that to boot up are these volumes. These are logical containers that we have where customers' data is stored. So when you are backing up your systems, you could specify which volume. Each volume has a retention period, and those retention periods can be managed at your leisure. You also have the ability to look at your usage over time. You can see the peaks and valleys and the declines and the inclines as your retentions roll off and things of that nature. You can look at the most current, or of course you can go back in time and see how things have been behaving while your data is being protected. Here, the reporting, we also have the ability, so every day what we do is we send you a daily digest. The daily digest is sent to you via email, and in the body of the email it has a list of all your systems that are being protected with the solution. It lets you know the status of those backups, and if they've completed successfully, we let you know when they started, how and when they completed, basically how long it took to back them up, and actually how much data was transferred. We do an initial full backup, and then after that we do subsequent backups, or just the changes. You can also create other additional reports, such as a backup report. You can have that report generated to you and sent to you by email on demand, or you can create a report. You simply give it a name, you specify when the time of day you want it delivered, the frequency, daily, weekly, monthly, and then you can specify who you want that report to be sent to. It could be those people who have access to this portal, or if you're managing this on behalf of a customer who you don't necessarily want to log into the portal, you can specify them as an additional email recipient. Another thing, if you want to include in that report information about all of the systems, you can do that. Or if you only, or if a customer is only interested in a few specific high critical or critical systems, you can have that report only include those systems. So very powerful reporting. And we, of course, have additional reporting, if you want to check on the activity log to see who's logging in, who's initiating backups, who's initiating restores, you have that capability as well. You also have alerts. So send me an alert if a backup or a restore fails. You have that capability as well. And then, of course, you have the ability to set up users that have different capabilities. You can have an admin role for this account or for this customer, so they can log in. They can do full administrative controls, or you may only want them to log in and to be able to see how much storage they have, or only be able to do restores. At the managed service provider view, we can have the capability to have admins see all customers, or if you want to restrict the view at that MSP admin level and have that admin log in and only see the customers that you so designate, that's a possibility as well. So let me quickly go back to this disaster recovery tab. And as you can see, the system that we powered up is now up and running. It has the amount of RAM that we specified when we enabled disaster recovery. It has its own IP address because there is a IP network that's in that virtual data center that we provision. You can set up a remote desktop connection. You can power it off. You can restart this server. And another key point of disaster recovery functionality is the failback. So as the system is running in the cloud while the disaster is being recovered or being dealt with, changes are captured. You want to make sure that when you are reestablishing your on-prem environment, that you capture those changes. So when you initiate that failback, the changes that have been captured while the system was running in the cloud will be pushed down, back down to your on-prem environment. So with that, I'll conclude the demo. So managed hosted management portal, we wanted to make it as simple to use, whether you need disaster recovery or backup as a service. And that's it.
Great presentation. Yeah, very cool. I like seeing the demo. So let's do some questions from the audience here.
Absolutely.
And while I do that, Yeah, while I do that, I'm going to pop up this poll question on the screen, which is, would you like to be one of the first to learn more about ArcServe's cloud solutions? And I'll just leave that up there for everyone in the audience. And let's see, first question here that came in is they're asking about your data centers. So you protect data for your customers. Where are those data centers located? Can you tell us anything about them?
Absolutely. We have a few data centers. We have 2 in the U.S. We have 1 in Santa Clara, California. We have 1 in Secaucus, New Jersey. And we also just recently opened 1 in the U.K. in Manchester.
Very nice, very nice. Are those HIPAA compliant data centers?
They are. Yes, the solution is HIPAA compliant.
Very nice. And then probably the last question we have time for, that is, what about ransomware? That's a big, hot topic today. What if someone backs up ransomware-infected files?
Yeah, so if they back up ransomware-infected files, unfortunately, the backups could very well be infected as well. A good thing about a solution that gives you that capability to have a retention period is you can try to go back to a previous point in time before the infection took place, and then kind of restart from that point. So you download that image and use that image as your starting point. So that's one way around it. And then another key point is that even if they were to boot, we have all of these systems isolated. So even if they were to power on that ransomware infected system in the cloud, it is isolated, so it would not be there would not be a chance for it to affect any of their other systems or any other customers.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, there's a few more questions for you there in the queue, but thanks so much for being on today.
All right, thanks. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely, yeah. For more information about ArcServe, make sure you check out their resource there in your console. It's entitled ArcServe Data Protection. It's the data sheet for the product. So if you have some questions about the product and how it works, that's a great resource for you. And also visit, of course, arcserve.com. So if you haven't answered the poll question that's on the screen, go ahead and do it now, and I'll just leave that up while I announce our next set of prize winners. Next prize winner for another Amazon $500 gift card is Rajesh Singh from Minnesota. Congratulations, Rajesh. And the 4th Microsoft Surface laptop is going to Edward Podolsky, or Podolskik. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Edward, it's last name Podoksik from Illinois. Congratulations, Edward. We will reach out to both of you to deliver your prizes. If you weren't one of the prize winners, no worries. We've got another Amazon $500 gift card and another laptop coming up at the end of the event after the next presentation. All right, and speaking of that next presentation, I'm excited to introduce Mr. Mike Ronsky. He's the Principal Product Marketing Manager for AHV Networking and Security at Nutanix. Mike, are you there?
I am, David. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great. Thanks for being on the Cloud Solutions Megacast. Tell us what Nutanix is doing in the way of cloud these days.
So interesting enough, I don't know how far we want to get into this right now, but Nutanix is probably best known for on-prem HCI, but really we see the much bigger picture for long-term and leveraging public clouds and what becomes a hybrid cloud. And that's really what I want to talk about today is explaining what that means and how we get there.
Excellent, excellent. Well, take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So let me see if this slide will advance here real quick. So I think the best way I always take to talk about this is really let's talk about where we're at and where we want to get to. So, why are we even having this conversation is that we all have a stack that looks like something that I'm showing here now. So you've got networking gear from some of the big vendors. You're running storage from some of the big vendors, regular storage networking, compute, common OSs and hypervisor solutions from Microsoft or VMware. We've been learning these for a long time, and actually I've known David for a long time and been to many VM worlds and gone through this whole cycle of amazing IT advancements over the last, 10, 11 years, I would say. But what's come out of this is all these things have complex life cycles, independent hardware pieces, independent software pieces. We've developed really large, complex silos within IT. There's a storage team, a networking team, a virtualization team, a hardware team, a security team. Now we're starting to see cloud teams as well. all of these things mean that it's becoming a little bit more difficult for what IT even exists for to get accomplished, and that's driving business applications and driving business value. I've been in IT for a long time, as much of you have as well, and sometimes we forget that our job isn't to manage that gear or be the virtualization guy. Our job is to deliver business applications that help our employer deliver their goal, make more money at the end. If it's a public company, bring up the stock price at the long-term things. And then there's these general support challenges. We have domain experts in all of these pieces, certifications that have to get done. And overall, we've built something that is drastically different than we had 11 years ago, but it's also really, really complex in where that's at. And out of that, we've developed, you see this thing called HCI that Nutanix pioneered is one of the ways we've solved this, and that covers a piece of it, but what we're really seeing is that others are jumping towards this whole new frontier, and this is where I think, the next 10 years are going is all towards cloud. All we hear about today is cloud, everything's going towards cloud. Is it Amazon? Is it Azure? Is it Google Cloud? Even Oracle offers a cloud now and is in this fray. So we've come to the point where, well, cloud is the answer, but what does that really mean? How can cloud be the answer to everything? It is a bit ambiguous, and we've been saying cloud for many years. I mean, I remember the journey to the cloud from a hypervisor perspective was the theme in 2009. And here we are, early 2018, and many are still contemplating that journey. Well, I think a good way to start off some of this is let's first make sure that we're all on the same page from why this generic cloud thing is good. Part of that, it comes out of the complexity of what's on-prem. So we've already seen that because we have complexity, what does that really mean? Well, some pieces of this are expensive. We buy storage or other pieces in 3 to 5 year plans, huge upfront capital costs. What all that means when it's expensive and large, it takes a long time to implement. Meaning if I run out of a resource, I don't get gratification tomorrow. I'm stuck going through procurement, buying things. It's a very complex piece, which means I can't deploy applications quickly. I can't scale things quickly if I chose poorly when I did that 3 to 5 year plan. And when I was in that role and those kind of roles, and I had to forecast 3 to 5 years, you knew it was the one thing that was guaranteed about that forecast. It was wrong. It was either undersized or oversized. If it was undersized, that just meant that you were going to get to a situation where whatever vendor that was going to be quite happy and charge you full price because you had negotiation power. Or if it was oversized, that was money you wasted on something you could have spent somewhere else and used that for a different project. Other pieces of things that we talked about here are general simplicity. We've got all the pieces I talked about earlier, or constant innovation. And when we think about public cloud providers, all of these things come kind of as default features. If I'm going to go to a public cloud, I can buy just what I need. I can get one VM. I can get a boatload of storage. I can get different kinds of storage pretty much instantaneously. It's that pass my credit card instant gratification that is one of the primary drivers towards that general cloud piece, as well as really interesting new features. I saw AWS reInvent just happened a while ago, and they're constantly announcing new features, and because the cloud environment allows us to deploy things at a different rate. And then overall general simplicity. It's APIs, it's point, click, and ship from UIs. It is not a giant complex stack of IT. So as we move a little bit further through this, okay, that's all great, but what cloud? Can I build my own cloud? Is there a difference between these clouds? We see all this, Microsoft is jockeying for your business, Google is, Amazon is. You hear people talking about building their own clouds with things like OpenStack. Your existing hypervisor vendors will also offer different cloud components. But there's a lot of, unsure what to do, when to do it. We all want to get to this holy grail of perfection. What we don't want to end up with is disaster, where we got the wrong cloud. Can we even do that? And I would put forth something to think about is each one of these different cloud solutions vendors, there's pros and cons for it. When you think about maybe traditional IT things and large hosted Active Directory, if you're a major user of Exchange and Office applications, there will be a reason to leverage some of Azure. If you're into deep data analytics and AI and photo stuff or voice pieces, Google seems to have a lot of applications and services around that area. And Amazon, of course, has been doing this probably the longest, and they have a lot of B2B and general virtualization features. Also, constantly growing things on big data and databases. So there's general takeaway is there is going to be a reason for your enterprise to pull services or desire services from any one of these clouds and potentially run things in your own environment as well. And where that comes out is there's a good chance that maybe the public cloud isn't necessarily applicable for all of your workloads. There are certain things that make instant sense. Spinning up and down resources quickly, that on-demand piece. Maybe it's calendar-based or holiday-based. If you're in the retail space, in the United States, that October-November timeframe, online retailing goes way up. Throughout the entire Christmas and holiday buying season, from Black Friday to Cyber Mondays and all of that goes on. But then there's other things in your environment that are very predictable. They're always running a certain known space, certain known capacity, very easy to forecast. And I would say that for those workloads, the public cloud may not necessarily make a lot of sense from a pricing perspective. So another way to look at this is let's use that owning versus renting analogy in that cloud space. When you're going on vacation, for perspective, you're going on vacation for a week, you're probably going to get a hotel room. When you're lucky enough to take an extended vacation to Europe, you may be looking at Airbnb and doing a long-term rental at a home or something. But if your job relocates you to Europe, more than likely you're going to buy something because it's a long-term stay. And that's a good way to think about this whole cloud thing is once you have the predictable side, then understanding the costs in pieces, assuming we can create an environment that operates very similar to a public cloud, we certainly have this use case for it's not an all or nothing proposition. Some things could run in public cloud and gain those advantages, and some things will run in private cloud. And this all leads up to really what Nutanix is talking about, and what we've been talking about for, I'd say, about the last year, is that where we really see it is let's create that environment that allows enterprises to make those decisions and pick clouds based on both financial and technical reasons, decide what makes sense on premises to run in their own data center, be that hosted or actually in a data center owned by the enterprise, or leveraging those different services from the various cloud providers, and maybe move between them as is necessary. This all started with HCI. I bring that up. Everybody knows Nutanix as an HCI vendor. It's kind of the first layer was to start off with taking a lot of that complexity out, driving it into a more of an appliance model where the hardware doesn't necessarily even matter, and it's all just driven by software that provides all of the base virtualization stack along with storage and virtual networking, but it doesn't really end there. We needed to drive this considerably further to really get to that holy grail of having something that can approximate and be an analog for what we see from the public cloud vendors. So a good way to think about that is now that we've got that kind of baseline, so let's simplify and re-platform or re-foundation our on-prem data centers, and then that software needs to start going quite a few steps further. So we have to start abstracting this out, and we want the public cloud to look like our internal cloud. So think service offerings. We need to have offerings that are for the virtual machine side, analog for EC2. We need to have storage, block storage, file services, object-based stores. You want to have virtualized networking. You want to have support for container services. So if we have the hardware infrastructure that gives us the fractional consumption, that's a good proximity for buying what we need, lower upfront CapEx. Now we start modeling that software piece to provide analogs for all of these different services and keep building upon that. We need automation pieces. We need to have the ability to orchestrate and automate across any cloud platform. It is important to first provide baseline automation, APIs. If you think about, when we talk about our DevOps or developer organizations that are working with public clouds, they operate at the API level. They're programmatically deploying and managing applications. They're not like those of us who have done virtualization for a long time that are looking at and think of things in terms of what I can do from vCenter or SCVMM if I'm a Hyper-V Microsoft guy, or Nutanix Prism. There's a lot of API things within that, and that's an area where Nutanix spent a lot of time is providing the full automation framework that is leveraged over programmatic APIs, and it supports multiple clouds. Being able to automate not just one cloud, not just having a bias towards AWS or Azure. If you think about Microsoft's standpoint, Microsoft wants you to put everything in Azure. But as we discussed earlier, there are going to be reasons why there will be services and offerings from AWS and Google Cloud that you're going to want to leverage, and you don't want to have separate management infrastructure or going down the same path we went in the past and now start creating silos and have a Amazon cloud silo and an Azure cloud silo. You really want to have a single group of IT that can manage all of these things, and that's really what Nutanix is talking about bringing to the table through our One Cloud, One OS with Acropolis, being able to do multi-cloud management and application automation through our Calm product set that rides on top of the HCI platform. So we'll really start thinking about a lot of this is we're getting into Nutanix providing you the ability to do all of these different pieces, and kind of bringing this back to the beginning of where we started a lot of this talk is we want to go pay as you grow. Start with everything built in, doing it in an appliance-based model, all software, bring your own hardware is something that we've been slowly rolling out into our Nutanix world. So we really are a software company from the beginning. The appliances, we're an ends to or a means to an ends. But there's nothing magical about the hardware that Nutanix runs on. And today we can run everything from OEMs with Dell and Lenovo. We have our own appliance, which we call an NX model, fully support things like Cisco UCS and HP servers as well. And really that does abstract out, means you pick the hardware you want, you run the right software on it, which is that Nutanix Enterprise Cloud piece, then pick what makes sense for you from a cloud perspective, running what makes sense on-prem in pure Nutanix, what makes sense off-prem in one of the public cloud providers, and one single management interface providing all of the orchestration and operational intelligence and insights for all of that work. And that does provide all of these different pieces that really make up what's valuable about a cloud, and that's Nutanix's general vision about what is an enterprise a kind of cloud offering. So if we think back to when I first started off the discussion here, and this piece, that is really how we really get there, is can I provide rapid time to market, the fractional IT consumption, and deep simplicity and continuous innovation both on-prem and leverage that off-prem, and really believe that you can do that with Nutanix's offering. Unfortunately, I don't have a demo for the group here, but I do want to cover a lot of interesting ways that you can get experience with Nutanix. Beyond the most obvious, which is reach out to the Nutanix sales reps or a website in your area and have a direct meeting. But if you just want to get a hands-on flavor, and it's something that not everybody is aware of, is we offer a completely free, unrestricted version of our entire software stack. Meaning 100% of the features and functions that we offer our enterprise customers are available in this stack. You can download that off our website and run it on general purpose hardware, and running up to a fairly 4 physical servers running that with our virtualization stack, which is the AHV Acropolis hypervisor built in as well. So that's a turnkey option to run something in a lab and really get your hands on with what Nutanix is doing and try out 100% of our features. There are also hands-on labs that you can be done. We do workshops on site, constantly doing one online. You can sign up now for a full hands-on instructor-led session where we give you what is essentially a virtual desktop running in a Nutanix environment, access to a net new environment that we've set up, and let you run hands-on exercises through that with an instructor-led guided course. That means it takes the burden off of really any kind of manual reading or figuring out what's going on there. And hopefully, throughout this talk, you've got a good sense of what Nutanix is doing at a high level. I urge you to visit the website and check out the deeper features and of course the collateral that's available to you within this section. And with that, I covered a lot of things at a high level, but I would like to we can end it with that right there as far as what I have, and then turn it back over to David. Maybe we can do some Q&A and answer some of those questions.
Absolutely. Yeah, great presentation, Mike. So we do have some questions here from the audience. Let's see. First one is, what about how does Nutanix enable multi-cloud specifically? Like, what technologies do you use? Does it have to be AHV on premises to create a multi-cloud?
No, that was actually a great question. So something that I didn't cut. So Nutanix supports multiple hypervisors. So we work with VMware, Hyper-V. We have our own hypervisor, and that's our opinion. You're going to get the best experience if you use our embedded hypervisor. But you can choose the hypervisor that makes the most sense for you. The Calm automation framework that I talked about is pretty much hypervisor agnostic, and that's what integrates the public cloud side. So if you think about the way we support multi-cloud, in the current incarnation is allowing you to have a single management interface and orchestration layer that is Calm, that allows you to pick and choose where you deploy and where you manage your different workloads. And that's be it on-prem or off-prem, all through that common interface. So you're using Nutanix Prism, which is our management interface, Nutanix Calm for automation and orchestration, and that's your gateway into the public cloud and on-prem from that single interface. So when if right now, let's say without Nutanix in the picture, and you develop something for Amazon, you're writing to their APIs, and you're kind of locked in. Similarly for Azure and Google, if you write that through Calm, then I can just conceivably deploy that exact same application to Azure, to AWS, or to Google Cloud or on-premises with Nutanix without changing anything about that orchestration. And that's really the beauty of having that abstraction layer.
Okay. Let's see. A lot of questions coming in from the audience. Let me go ahead and pop up this poll question on the screen now for those of you out there in the audience. If you'd like to be one of the first to learn more about the Nutanix Cloud solution, just select Sure there on the screen. And so let's go back to some Q&A from the audience. Another question here is, can you install Nutanix on any hardware?
So any is kind of a tough term. So we have what we call I don't know if you've seen some of the hardware compatibility lists from other vendors. It can be a big, messy game of guessing, because you might even have 2 or 3 things on the same compatibility list, but they don't necessarily work together, even though the vendor says they're compatible. So we have a fairly strict hardware firmware compatibility list. Right now, it's very strict. It's limited to what we've got, the vendors and OEMs that we support, along with Cisco, UCS, and HP. We are going to be slowly unrestricting that as we go through that, this kind of evolution of broadening that. But it'll always be a fairly prescriptive recipe for what we know works. We want to deliver an experience that guarantees an outcome and a successful outcome. So it'll never be bring anything, but it will be a lot of all of the vendors and brands that from a hardware server perspective will be, if they're not already supported by that. Now, the Nutanix CE is a lot more open. So if it's CE, which is our community edition that you want to try for free, much wider, anything modern hardware, you've got some SSDs laying around and some drives, and that's a modern Intel processor, you're probably going to have success running that free version if you're just trying to try it out.
Okay. And when I go to download, this is for me personally, actually. I'm going to ask you a personal question now. Can I download the community edition and run it in a VM?
Actually, you can. So we have instructions in our forum for running it embedded in VMware Workstation or on ESXi. So that we have a number of different customers running that even in some of the other completely free virtualization platforms. So absolutely, once you sign up and join our forums, we are user supported around CE, you'll find forum posts covering how to do embedded or on other platform installs of CE.
Okay, cool. I'll have to try that. Another question here is about backup and data protection. Does Nutanix have that built into the platform, or what do you recommend for that if someone's using Nutanix?
Yep, so a number of things. So at the HCI levels where this comes in, so we have native snapshots, which we call a time stream. So I have a full timeline-based ability to go back and forth between snapshots. But as we all know, backup is a lot more than snapshot. So we have the native functionality of being able to do the snapshots and restore, which are all metadata based and zero impact to running workload. And then we have support from a number of major vendors. So you've got Veritas and NetBackup, Commvault, CommTrade, Haiku, some of the new technologies and kind of tier 2 HCI vendors like Rubrik have support for Nutanix, and even the big green guys, the Veeam guys, have been talking, and they at their Veeam conference this year have pledged support for AHV. So you'll be able to leverage that within the next month or so, I believe, is their targeted deployment date.
Very nice, very nice. Another question came in here about software-defined networking. Of course, VMware has NSX. Does AHV have something similar?
Yep, getting there. So we're doing a little bit different approach. So our networking in AHV is based on Open vSwitch, Open Virtual Networking. And if those of you know the history of NSX and the company that VMware acquired, Nicira, that was all a genius VMware engineer named Martin Casado did all that work, both at VMware and part of his PhD thesis at Stanford. But Open vSwitch and Open Virtual Networking are based on the exact same thing that Nicira and NSX are. So our first foray into that is a visualization and microsegmentation feature set. And then our plans are to expand on that further as we move into the next few releases.
Okay, awesome. And then what about moving virtual machines from, say, one hypervisor like VMware or Hyper-V to AHV? Is there some tool to do that or some way to do that?
Oh, excellent question. Absolutely. So there's a couple things that we do here. We have a tool family called Extract. And the first release of Extract covers a wholesale migration of ESX environments into AHV. So essentially, Extract connects to your virtual centers, does an inventory, lets you pick the virtual machines that you're interested in. It does a non-disruptive data migration in the background, so your VMs continue to run in their existing environment. Those disks are all migrated and synced. And then when you're ready, there's a short cutover that does require reboot. Well, it'll power down the VMs in the existing ESX environment and then power them up in AHV. For smaller environments, that functionality is just built into the Prism management. So straight from our UI that's running Nutanix with ESX, let's say you started off with Nutanix and ESX and you wanted to give AHV a try, you can just click the Convert Me in Place button. It'll ask you a couple of questions, and it will do a server-by-server or node-by-node conversion of ESX to AHV. Essentially migrating VMs off of a server, upgrading its hypervisor, powering it back on, and then migrating them over. So it's a pretty elegant way to do a smaller environment. And the beauty that we put into this is, let's say you try that and decide, you know what, AHV isn't for me yet. I need to keep with my ESX environment. Maybe I've got software that requires it or validations and such. You can do the undo button, and it'll roll back that entire Nutanix cluster back from AHV back into your ESXi environment just the way you left it.
Very nice, very nice. And here's a question that came in, and you may have mentioned this already, but it might be good to clarify. How can those using Nutanix move virtual machines to AWS and Azure, and does Nutanix have their own cloud?
So as far as the live migration, that's the holy grail, I think, between clouds. So we don't do that today. With things like Calm, you can provision and create disk images and move those images from an on-prem out to one of those supported cloud providers. But there's no magical drag and drop, from one on-prem to another technology. And in a lot of ways, that's you're changing hypervisors, so there's a lot of fancy things to be done there. So the true mobility isn't something you can do today, but it is something that we are always looking at. And once we figure out how to do it, I'm sure that'll be a feature we add. As far as our own cloud, we are doing a foray into that. We talked about it at our next user conference this past year. It's called xiCloud. It is essentially a cloud facility that is running a secure multi-tenant version of the Nutanix Acropolis environment. And where we're doing this is more service-based, so it's not positioned to be a general-purpose public cloud that you would think about, The first service that we're going to be offering there is an embedded a DR, disaster recovery service. And for those of you that are familiar with Nutanix and you're setting up our replication policies, we have a concept called a protection domain. It's essentially a collection of VMs that I want to do replication for. With the xCloud Services DR service, you would essentially just have another checkbox that says, yes, I want to replicate these VMs to Nutanix xCloud. And within that, there will also be runbook automation built in. So if you think about a good analog, it'd be VMware's SRM tool or a product like a Zerto product. You'd be able to get a lot of that runbook automation pieces natively within Nutanix as part of that with xCloud.
Very cool, very cool. I look forward to seeing that. Well, I think that's all the time we have for live Q&A, Mike, but thanks for being on today.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. Always a good time to join you guys.
Yeah, good to talk to you again. So to learn more about Nutanix, make sure you check out their website. They do have a hyperconverged test drive, they call it. They have the free community edition, and they have an option where you can get a live demo with a Nutanix expert. So with that, let's go ahead and if you haven't answered the question on the screen, go ahead and do it now. I'll just leave that up while I announce our final prize winners. So the final Amazon $500 gift card is going to Paul Simino from New Jersey, and the final Microsoft Surface laptop is going to Naveen Dondaparty from Oregon. Congratulations to both of you. Better luck to everyone out there in the audience on our next event, which is next week. And I want to point out just a couple more things before we wrap up. Make sure that you subscribe to our podcast called the 10 on Tech Podcast to get up-to-date information on the latest, most innovative enterprise technologies. You can do that over on iTunes. It's just called 10 on Tech. You can also visit our blog, actualtech.io, to subscribe to our podcast there. You can register for all of our events at events.actualtechmedia.com, the Megacast series, the EcoCast series, and our IT Virtual Summit, as well as numerous webinars that we do with innovative technology companies are found there. You can also watch on-demand events there as well. And then finally, make sure that you join us for next week's event, which is the Converged and Hyperconverged EcoCast. It's on January 18th of next week. I hope to see you there. You can register at events.actualtechmedia.com. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on the inaugural 2018 Cloud Solutions Megacast, and have a great day. Bye-bye.